Hello! So I'm filming this from Stamford, Connecticut, which is where I grew up. But this is a video about my second day in Vietnam, where I went to the Cu Chi tunnels. So the Cu Chi tunnels are right outside of Saigon / Ho Chi Minh City. They're both names for the same place. And it is a famous site where the Viet Cong hid from American soldiers. And they've preserved a lot of the tunnels and even made some of them bigger so that tourists can go in them to kind of see what it kind of would have been like. I mean, it's still really small and claustrophobic. It was a really amazing experience, and my guide was incredible. It was a Vietnamese woman named Dana, and well, that was her Americanized name, but she is Saigonese, so her family is from South Vietnam, which was the side during the war that fought against the Northern Vietnamese, which was the communist part of Vietnam, although 70% of South Vietnam later then sided with the Viet Cong and the Communist Party. But her family was one of the 30% that didn't, and because of that, she is still blacklisted. So that means she doesn't have access to things like public health care. It means she cannot work in the public sector, so she can't be a public school teacher, a nurse, or like a police officer. And it also means if she gets married to someone who's one of those things, they have to give up that right as well. All because her grandfather fought for South Vietnam, which I think is really interesting because, you know, it has nothing to do with her or her decision-making process. It has to do with her grandfather. But I digress. So she's the one who took us to the tunnels, and we got to kind of walk around and explore the site. We got to go into the tunnels, and then we also saw preserved versions of things like kitchens and barracks and that kind of thing, which was really cool. And I have some footage that I'll put in here of me walking through one of the tunnels and stuff.
Please follow me. Change diameter. Do you want exit this way?
If you want to exit, there's an exit on the left.
Continue.
I would like to.
Okay. Continue. Follow me. Continue.
No, where is the exit?
On the left.
On the left, on the left. That's an exit if you want to go out.
Okay, 40 meters, follow me. Ooh. 40.
Thank you. It's pretty claustrophobic down there, and they've added lights and air conditioning to make it more comfortable, so I can't imagine what it would have been like without any of that stuff. It must have been just excruciating, really. And then they talk about the ways that the American soldiers would try to get them out. They did a lot of like gases and stuff. And then they talked about how they'd hide from the Americans, so they'd cover up all the entrances and stuff. I have a picture of me in one of the tunnels, and there's a picture of it when it's covered. You really can't see anything at all. And then also how they'd hide things like smoke and etc. They also talk about how the tunnels go up and down a lot, and that's because the Americans would do things like try to flood them. So if they go up and down, it means the water can't flood as much certain areas, so they would go and hide in certain areas when they were doing things like flooding. And then they also talk about how there are big loops in them because the Viet Cong would then loop back around to attack the American soldiers from behind who had come into the tunnels. And the tunnels weren't wide enough that you could turn around, so they would just get shot in the back because they couldn't turn around to defend themselves.
Suddenly they fell down. You see this like a stuck in the middle. And It's a four direction. It's almost the legs. Yeah. And when this the inches, so the tin on the roof have to up. So you see, stuck in the middle. It's like the arm, you know, underarm stuck there. So it's so this on the body is stuck in down there. When the soldier fell in, so you just in mind is hold the window, but you know, stuck there, no way out. Normally they serious wounded. It's also delay. In the middle had one stick and around, so you just in mind step in there, and then try to pull up. And also then the step on, so the car is locked on in front of you.
Overall, the Coochie tunnels were a really cool experience. I would really recommend going to them. The only thing that I think is a little strange is that they have a shooting range on site that you can pay to shoot the weapons that would have been used by the Viet Cong or the American soldiers. I think that's in a little bit of poor taste, to be perfectly honest. I don't really want to be shooting a weapon in a place that had so many people die. I don't know. I felt it was a little insensitive, but it was my decision to not partake in it. It was something you had to pay extra for, so I just didn't. The other thing we did that day was we went to a place where they had victims of Agent Orange working. So Agent Orange was something deployed by the United States in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and it created a lot of genetic and physical disabilities in Vietnam. Some people are still being born with the effects of Agent Orange on them, and so there are a lot of places where people who are affected can get jobs. So this particular place, they're making really beautiful pieces of artwork, and so they show you how they're made, and then you can purchase them, and a pretty big portion, I think they said 70% of the profit goes towards helping people who have been affected by Agent Orange. That was my second day in Vietnam. Obviously my trip took a little bit of a turn since I'm now sitting in Stamford, Connecticut with a boot on my foot, but I did take footage and stuff, so I'll be making little videos and etc., but none of them will be published until I'm back in Australia. So I'm filming this on May 9th. You won't be seeing it until August. So thank you for being patient with me, all like 20 of you that watch my videos. All right, thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.